I think Gordon Smith was first tonight, at least on our chart here. Good evening from Denmark, you lovely lot, as he likes to say. Ted Ryman down in Cape Town in the Republic of South Africa. Stingrays up in Seattle. Cheers, he says, from Seattle. Of course, we're live here at Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club with a Beach Street Yacht Club member joining us. He's in New York City. Peter Taylor is with us, and we'll be back to him at the top of the show. In the meantime, we have some other folks on here, Julia. Bill Wingrove, Shooking, Sydney Haryash. Shooking, is that what I said? Shocking, it should have said, not the Shooking. Okay, it was a typo. Greetings from Galveston, Jonathan Frank, John Lunabos in Sonoma, Duncan Withrow in cold Ottawa. We're going to have a hell of a snowstorm in the Northeast this weekend. Here we go.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Happy Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? No, it's Friday. Happy Friday. I told you I was a crouton today. Happy Friday, everybody. Live from Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club here in San Francisco. Welcome to TFE Live, our show number 491 for Friday, the 28th of January. I was just reading a notice that came across on my phone about, they're calling it, what do they call it? A weather bomb in the Northeast?
Oh, yes. That's going to be incredible.
2 feet of snow?
In Manhattan?
Well, we'll go to Peter Taylor in a minute, who's standing patiently by in Manhattan, speak of the snow and what's going on. But Julia, we had a terrific show on Tuesday. I have Tuesday on the brain because it was such a good time on Tuesday with our friends from primarily Australia. But of course, Australia Day was the celebration. And it was a lot of fun. That was our Tuesday the 25th, which was, of course, Wednesday the 26th down under. And we had with us our longtime, by now, Fozy, and I want to thank Peter Stevenson from Australia, of course. He was live from Sydney, from his apartment overlooking Sydney Harbor early in the morning, his Wednesday morning. He's better known as Pedro Foiling Sailor, a Masters, very competitive Masters champion in that class, in the laser class. Here he's sailing an RS Arrow, foiling in another shot. And remember, in Mexico, he's the one who had a heart attack while he was racing down there and went into the hospital, died, he says, for a few minutes, and they brought him back to life.
More than once.
Well, I don't know how many times, but once is enough, isn't it? And I just want to apologize because we took this photo and part of that story from what I called the Proper Course blog. It's the Improper Course blog. It's a sailing blog on the East Coast, or actually from Texas. It's a sailing blog from Texas, because success is rarely a straight line. That's why they call that the improper course. Like, of course, proper course is a technical term, is a term of art under the racing rules. Thanks again to Pedro Foiling Sailor for coming with us. And Julia, as promised, we did actually that night have, in honor of all of our mates in Australia, we had a very nice post-show lamb dinner here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. And by the way, after that show, I stuck my head out the window the next morning and said, hey, happy because it was Wednesday here, and we have some neighbors who are from Perth, or one of them is. And I said, happy Australia Day. We featured Australia Day on the show yesterday, yada, yada. And later that afternoon, I don't know if you know this showed up on the stoop out here at the Beach Street Yacht Club.
I didn't see it till the morning.
Do you like Vegemite?
No, not really. but I've learned to eat it.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. They don't like peanut butter in Australia. A lot of people don't, and I'm okay with Vegemite.
I don't think I know an Australian that doesn't just run to whenever Vegemite's around.
Better than Marmite. Have you had Marmite?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, well, that was Australia Day on Tuesday, and of course, now that I've got my head around it being Friday, what day is it today, Julia? International
Bread.
International Lego Day. Believe it or not, there is such a thing. Now, this has some implications. we could have chosen from, a half a dozen different international days, national days, but this will have some implications, as Peter knows, later in today's show. So keep this in mind as we go forward. International Lego Day.
Let's go.
On show number 491.
Ooh, mighty close to 5.
Getting closer to 5 with each passing show. So just, what's that, 9 shows from now? So that's 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks from now. To the starting line we go. And I want to bring right away our guest who was here in San Francisco with us not too long ago. These are our Fosies, Peter and Sandy, his wife Sandy. They were both here and came over to the yacht, to St. Francis Yacht Club, and I had a drink with them. And then, Julie, you'll remember that I brought them over here to the Beach Street Yacht Club. We made them sing.
Uh-huh.
They still owe us a bottle of wine.
Uh-oh.
But they did sing for their not their supper, but their Beach Street Yacht Club membership. They are now proud members of the Beach Street Yacht Club. Please welcome from Manhattan, Peter Taylor. Hello, Peter.
Hey, Tom and Julia, how are you?
Well, very well, thank you. And I could have listed you as your home yacht club as Beach Street Yacht Club, I suppose, but you're very active in the New York City area, Manhattan Yacht Club and at Larchmont Yacht Club, and out with Don Riley at Oak Cliff Sailing Center, right?
That's right. And I have to take I have one issue with you. I did bring a bottle of Casamigos when we came.
I know, and
yes.
you sure did, and
Which is much better than a bottle of wine, by the way.
And it's long since gone, right, Julia?
Yes.
So I don't want to think poorly of you or us. I don't want you to think poorly of us because it's the wine is the requirement.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Casamigos was greatly appreciated, and we don't want people to know that we drink tequila, even though we talk about it, Peter, on the show all the time, because it's a lower glycemic. It's supposed to be better for you, right, Julia?
Right, and it undoubtedly is.
You think?
Sure.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I hope you're right. But I know we both lost weight since we went off wine and vodka, cranberry, and any other sugary drinks. What do you drink, Peter?
I actually drink tequila as well, and mezcal.
Oh, yes.
Well, it was much appreciated. The bottle that you and Sandy brought us when you were here. I like that picture. A lot of I didn't see it. I just saw it on your Facebook page, and a lot of other people have commented about how nice a shot that is of the two of you. And thanks for coming on the show today. And
sure,
why don't
thanks for being a great photographer.
Well, I did. Did I take that?
You did.
How about this shot? Who took this?
I think I did.
Is that a selfie?
Selfie.
When and where? It looks like old 12s.
It is old 12s. In fact, that's you'll remember them well. It's 42 in the background, and I'm on 46. I was trimming, although it looks like I'm back by the backstays here. This was in Raritan Bay at the Raritan Yacht Club at the southwest corner of Staten Island in Lower New York Bay.
Yeah, and Raritan is actually a town in New Jersey, correct? Raritan Yacht Club is in New Jersey.
It is, correct.
For those that are geographically challenged, well, you've been active. These are boats owned by what? The New York Harbor Foundation, Manhattan Yacht Club?
Yeah, New York Harbor Sailing Foundation, Manhattan Yacht Club. Correct.
And they own the 2 of the 3 boats from our 1987 America. I say our, meaning the New York Yacht Club's 87 Challenge. I had the proud role as their executive director, raised the money and did the PR. The boat designs were not particularly auspicious. And 2 of the 3 boats we built are still around, are extant. US 42, the first boat built in 84. And then we built 44 after that. In those days, it was bad luck to have an odd numbered 12, thought to be. And then 46, which was the third and final boat that we then raced in the LV Louis Vuitton Cup and the America's. Well, we didn't get to the match. And the boats, sadly, got progressively slower. 42 was probably the best boat, Peter.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of 42, do you know this shot? Julie, do you recognize this picture? Bunch of 12s.
Well, they're 12s. That's a lot of them, so it's got to be 87.
That was before the cup, right?
Yes, that is 86. That's the World
86.
Championship in Frio Fremantle, Western Australia, 1 year before the Cup, February of '86, as the the warm-up regatta. It was fabulous to have all those 12s on the line together. And here's that's 42 right in the middle of that pack. And Dennis was the only team that was not there. San Diego Yacht Club Stars and Stripes were training in Hawaii. They sat it out and then, of course, ultimately won. This is one of the most famous 12-meter pictures, I think, ever. Looks like these people are standing on the beach. They're not. They're out on a spectator boat. But I think this is a Gilles Martin-Roget photo. And US 42, this is before we used the three-letter Olympic codes, US 42, KA for the Kingdom, and then Australia, the United Kingdom, and their colony, Australia, KZ, you can see there in the middle. Can you see that in the middle where KZ is what? That was the two-letter code in the back in the day for New Zealand.
I was going to say it must have been New Zealand.
KA for Australia, and some other U.S. boats. See, this one way back, you can't probably see it, is KC. That's a Canadian boat because they use KC. And then, of course, in the meantime, we went to the three-letter codes for pretty much the whole sport, the Olympic three-letter codes, hence USA and AUS and NZL, GBR, CAN for Canada, and so on. But what a famously cool photo. And we called it the Lego boat. US 42 was nicknamed the Lego boat, and it was built and launched in '84 and nicknamed Lego because the yacht, we thought we were so clever. The keels, the rigs, the rudders, the bustles could all be set up in different configurations. In fact, bolted on and bolted off was in theory, but that didn't really work very well. So the Lego boat with the interchangeable pieces. She later went on to be portrayed as Boomerang and then Platypus in the cult classic 92 film Wind. And I did not know this, and I still have no idea what the TV series No Boundaries is. Peter, do you have any idea what that is?
No, I don't. I have no idea.
I wonder if any of our Fosies know.
I'm sure somebody does.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody will. I can hear Clark Chapin clicking and clacking on his keyboard from all the way from Plymouth, Michigan. He's probably trying to find that out for us.
And if Kimball Livingston is
if
around,
he's on, yeah, he will as well. He wrote. I don't know that he had anything to do with the TV show, but Kimball had a lot to do. And ended up rewriting Wind. The original script was not auspicious, and he ended up helping to write it and got a screenwriter credit for Wind. Kimball Livingston, the esteemed past Commodore here at St. Francis Yacht Club. These aerial photos, again, the reliably windy, the magnificently beautiful venue off Fremantle, and these photos beaming by satellite, the first time we saw live television coverage from halfway around the world, at least in this country, maybe the rest of you as well. This is John Colias, as we call him, at the wheel of, I think these shots are all 46, aren't they, Peter?
Yeah, that's 46, yeah.
With a more snub-nosed bow, and that was the boat racing in the LVC, the Louis Vuitton Cup. And these photos, the last three at least, were all by Gilles Martin-Roget, our longtime friend. I don't think we've had him on the show, but I was thinking when we were preparing the show today, we got to get Gilles on like we did with Danielle Forster and have him do a thing with all of his photos because he is such a magnificent photographer, obviously.
We talk about him a lot. We should get him on.
Yeah, we should. Gilles Martin-Roget, the celebrated snapper from France, obviously, and he's been around for a long time and just one of the very best. Now, let's set this up, Peter, because you sent me this photo montage video.
Right.
Offered to do one a la what John Emmett does. You said, well, if you're really serious about Fosie coming and making contributions, submissions, I'll do one about interclub dinghy racing during the winter, frostbiting as it's called, at Larchmont Yacht Club. And Peter's, talk is cheap, but not with Peter. He came through with this. I'm going to play it for you in a moment, but just by way of setup. And then he said, well, you play it whenever you want, and there's some music with it. And I looked at it, and my God, it's really nice. Mm-hmm. I said, well, Peter, rather than me just playing it as an Emmett segment or as like Gordon Smith did from Denmark with his kid that time, which was, I think, a video as well, wasn't it? Or was Gordon on live? Can't remember. But why don't you come on the show and tell us about what you're doing? We'll do a Fosie Focus on a frostbiter and all the other things you're doing in the sport. Is that a good setup? Is that a good intro?
Yeah, it's a great intro. the occasion for me going out to Larchmont this time was I help out a friend with a podcast called Conversations with Classic Boats, and he goes back and researches old designs that have been or somewhat obscure and aren't particularly well known necessarily. And this was one of them. So we went out to Larchmont in mid-December, and this time I actually sat out the racing and enjoyed the warm comfort of a committee boat, which you'll see, which is actually a barge with a hut and a wood stove on it, which was quite comfortable, and took pictures from there of the race. And these little dinghies they sort of look, I don't know, I sort of saw them for the first time. They sort of seemed a little bit like an Opti or something, which are not my favorite boats. And they're a whole lot more lively and quite a handful for those who sail them, particularly in the winter. And the winter is the one time on Long Island Sound when it actually blows. So it was quite a good day.
So just by way of further setup, we're going to show the video and the photo montage. Larchmont Yacht Club is up the coast a little bit from downtown New York, not quite into Connecticut. Larchmont, New York, on Long Island Sound. It's one of the most prestigious, one of the oldest clubs in this country, and we're going to talk about Larchmont as well. But anything else about this before you shot these pictures from the race committee boat? No tequila
Correct.
Involved in this, I suppose.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Shall I roll the tape?
Yep.
Here we go.
Hello, Tom, Julia, and Fozy. I wanted to share a bit of my recent introduction to interclub dinghy racing at Larchmont Yacht Club. As many of you know, Larchmont is a storied U.S. club on western Long Island Sound, 20 miles or 32 clicks northeast from Midtown New York City. The IC dinghy is a 1946 Sparkman and Stevens design. It's been raced winters on and around Long Island Sound for decades. There are currently 8 active fleets around the Northeast U.S. and in Annapolis. The IC dinghy is a highly maneuverable but tricky boat to keep balanced and sail well. A basic cat rig, it is sailed with 2 people, though the total combined crew weight cannot exceed 315 pounds or 143 kilos. Crew is often mixed gender, young and old. The goal is to run races that are short in duration, to maximize the number of races possible during a limited winter light without jeopardizing sailor health and safety. The Midwinter Regatta at Larchmont is actually held at the beginning of winter. Even so, there can be some unusual weather-related cancellations. This regatta has gained popularity with college, uni students, a welcome diversion at the start of holiday break. Several manufacturers have built boats out of wood and plastic over the years. The Larchmont fleet is well represented with a number of examples. Agony takes the name, hull color, and number of Arthur Knapp Jr.'s IC dinghy. Among his many, many sailing accomplishments, Knapp properly initiated winter sailing on Long Island Sound in 1932 and was a decades-long IC dinghy sailor. The Winter Race Committee boat is a dinghy dock with a hut and stove added for winter comfort. It's positioned within view of the club's docks, just within the protected water. The warm interior is not only for the race committee and its guests, but also occasionally for capsized sailors. IC dinghies demand respect. When that respect is breached, the consequences are real and very damp. A chase boat is immediately dispatched to rescue the sailors, right the boat, and pump it dry. For this regatta, the water was still a relatively balmy 48 degrees Fahrenheit, 9 degrees Celsius. Later in the winter, the temperature usually settles just above freezing. These boats are not fast, but the fleet tends to stay together on most legs of the race course. Upwind, as the breeze built above 15 knots, hiking became mandatory for all. Downwind, sailors must further coordinate their weight and movement for speed and to avoid easy-to-induce death rolls. Tacks and jibes are quick and require great care to avoid a trip to the stove. These boats don't really plane. Weight generally needs to be more aft than on most dinghies on all points of sail. Some sailors are truly kitted out for any eventuality. Finishes are close and exciting. If ever there's a form of sailing that the America's Cup is not, this would be it. All in all, it was a fun day of racing with 8 roughly 15-minute races completed before sundown. That's all today from New York. For everyone in the Northern Hemisphere, stay warm. Summer is coming.
Bravo, yes. Zulu.
Yeah,
I'm going to
really
use,
nice.
Julie, I'm going to use the applause button.
Oh, yeah.
For the first time ever, our applause sound effect here.
Oh,
Peter, marvelous. Thank you very much.
Really well done.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
And it's just what a great shot to end on, too. And I'm going to now go to the comments before we go to the Larchmont segment that I prepared, because that was, it generated a lot of comments. Right here at the end. Nice piece of work. Really enjoyed that. Gordon Smith is saying in Denmark, what cool boats. While before I forget, tell us about those boats. Who designed them? What year?
Sure, yeah. The boats were designed by Sparkman and Stevens sort of during 1946. So there was sort of a lull of the war, and they sort of slipped this in, around their more august designs. But it became a really popular class on Long Island Sound, as I mentioned in the piece,
and really beyond, because it's also it's a very popular boat still today in collegiate sailing. There's a lot of ICs, interclubs around, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm more mainly aware of them. I mean, my awareness of them is fairly limited. I'm aware of them around Long Island Sound. They're at Larchmont, and they're across the Sound on the Long Island side in Manhasset Bay. And I know there's a fleet around Annapolis. I think there may be one up in Rochester too. They're as I said, there are about 8 fleets sort of scattered around at this point, and I don't know about the college. The college scene, but there
was a fleet up in Boston at MIT. I think they still have interclubs up there, and somebody on here will tell me in the comments. Tell us in the comments. Let's go to the comments. Pedro Foiling Sailor, we mentioned him at the top of the show. He said, I found that it was the music, by the way, was also perfect, Peter.
Yes.
Just perfect. I found that so relaxing to watch, especially from bed. It's been a big week. He sent us some pictures from his day, from his big Australia day. Emmett is saying, just a suggestion, but head over to the Sailing Illustrated page, which is where most of the comments are if you want to join the discussion. Yeah, Sailing Illustrated's Facebook page is where most of the comments come in, and you can see them there. All this and Sailing 2, an autobiography by Olin Stevens, is a fantastic read. You also mentioned Arthur Knapp, who was really the godfather of sailing at Larchmont and really on Long Island Sound. Arthur Knapp, who sailed in the Congressional Cup, and he donated the book, Race Your Boat Right, I think is the name of the book. And at the Congressional Cup, the last place winner is awarded Arthur Knapp Jr.'s book, Race Your Boat Right. And his sister, Allegra Knapp Mertz, was also one of the pioneer sailors in the country, not just a female, but certainly a pioneer female sailor as well. Leggy Mertz was called. My dad crewed for Artie Knapp on Stars. I didn't know that, David James. Rochester has a fleet for frostbiting as well, and they're fairly high freeboard boats, so they're perfect for frostbiting until you capsize. Julie Aarons is saying, that was a very cool video. I want to go sailing. And then up above that in the comments that have already, there was so many comments. Great insight. Bravo, indeed. Nice piece of work. Really enjoyed that. I think I said Gordon Smith said, what cool boats, Jonathan Frank. Trip to the stove. I love it. Alan Long said. I wish someone, John Emmett, I wish someone had told me 1 click is just 1 kilometer. I never knew what a click was. Well, that's what American military have referred to since, I guess, the Second War, right? As a click, maybe since the Vietnam War anyway, as a kilometer. 1 click, and maybe others beyond the American military, but I know for sure American military. Oppies, John Emmett saying, it produced some of the best sailors in the world, or at least been a very important part of the road to gold. Yes, these, of course, are not Opties, are bigger than that, and they're cat-rigged boats, single sail main. Julie Aarons, who's getting snow already in Cleveland, says, hello from Cleveland, where we have over 20 inches of snow on the ground, and it's still coming down. Coming your way, Peter.
Yes, it is.
What do you have for snow right now?
We don't have much, but I live on the 24th floor, so I've got some leeway.
I remember being in Auckland when it snowed in downtown Auckland, and of course it never made it to the ground, but we were up high in an office building working on America's Cup rules and S-fighting back and forth. Susan Watson Kenny said, I would love to see Gilles Martin-Raget on the show. Bill Wingrove down in Tampa, Florida, asking, was the Lego boat set up in response to D.C. having multiple certificates for liberty? I don't think so, Bill. I think it was more it was in response to the wing keel and wanting to be able to try different configurations going into the America's Cup. And, we didn't even make it to the semifinals. We were so relatively poor. There's lots of stories from that. Schaefer is in D.C. Wow, love this shot. Replying to Jonathan Frank, would that not be a blast? Kookaburra didn't sail either. Enough boat. Yeah, they didn't. They sailed Oz too, right, Mark Reed? Down there in the World's 86. Kookaburra didn't sail, but they sailed Oz too. Did they not sail something? What, did they set that one out too? Mark Reed would remember. So if Kuka didn't sail and Dennis didn't sail, then the 2 eventual finalists in the 87 America's Cup sat out the World's 86. Think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, they're back to commenting on all those pictures. See if there's any other comments. I thought they just had clicks in sci-fi movies. John Emmett is saying. Let's go now to Larchmont Yacht Club, since that's where this frostbiting has gone on famously for years. They also have the Midsummer Regatta Larchmont Race Week at Larchmont Yacht Club. And this is a club for all seasons, a magnificent facility. This is a summer shot, obviously, and the not only the boat docks, but the pools, swimming pool, which is blocked off from the sound. You can see there, and in the background, you can see what's up there at the top. That's obviously looking west, southwest to New York City. Peter, what's in the immediate, what's in the foreground? These tallish buildings right here. That's not New York.
That's actually New Rochelle.
Oh, New Rochelle, which is New York State, but it's a town. This is New York back here, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's New York, exactly. And then New Rochelle has built up a skyline in the last 10 years, and that's what's most prominent.
Cool. Well, this is a fabulous club. There is a fall shot, obviously, in the fall as the trees are turning colors of from the water side, looking back, almost not quite from where you have that winter race committee. What do you call it? The race committee what?
Well, they call it the dinghy dock. They call it Little Scorpion, and there's a whole story behind that, which I don't think I can recite. But so it's just their committee boat. They call it. It's basically functionally a committee boat, but it's the barge. The barge. I mean, it's a raft tied up out there at right out on a mooring that's normally used in the summertime as a big boat mooring, I suppose. So it's a beautiful clubhouse, and then this is one of your shots that may have been used in that photo essay. Gorgeous Yacht Club Stingray is saying, yeah, it's just fabulous, and what a nice piece. And thanks again. And again, I think, Julie, we should say to our Fozy
anybody who wants to do the same sort of thing, a FOSI focus or a yacht club focus or a particular type of racing, we try to get Blake Middleton to do something about ice boating up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That would be fun. And speaking of Blake Middleton, I didn't know he was coming on. There he is. Cheers from the land of 10,000 frozen lakes. Alan Long, the snow in Clehe's also there is mainly lake effect. Flew over this afternoon. It's a big slush pond. Clark Chapin, during the Cold War, there was a saying in the U.S. Army, the villages and hamlets of northern German plain are separated from each other by a distance of about 1 kiloton. Oh, gosh, that's not funny, I don't think, right now, given what's going on in Ukraine. We're going to talk about that tangentially anyway. Back to Larchmont Yacht Club. I have a video, Julia. I showed part of it in the tech check to Peter from 1948, celebrating not so much Larchmont Yacht Club, although it's featured prominently, as are some other yacht clubs on Long Island Sound. It's the Teenage Tars. You know what a tar is?
Mm-mm.
It's an old, what is it, Peter? It's an old word meaning kind of cad, right? The British might say, the Teenage Tars. I don't think I'll play the whole video, but it's way cool. It's one of these Pathé videos from back in the day that I thought you all would enjoy. Have a look.
Today, young America is going to sea again. Each summer, from yacht club bases such as this one at Larchmont, New York, the Teenage Tars invade Long Island Sound. They'll skipper anything from a rowboat with a bedsheet rig to a smacking new jib and mainsail sloop. And if there's a fresh breeze and a couple of boats to race, so much the better. There are 175 yacht clubs on the Sound, and the racing competition is the bitterest in the world. On any weekend day, you'll see this: boats jockeying for a position at the starting line. And as the preparatory signal goes up on the committee boat, the activity becomes more intense. In sailing, a good start is often half the race. Every skipper does his best to swindle the other fellow. Legitimately, of course. The starting gun signals the beginning of the Lightning class race. These fast, trim little boats, 19 feet in length, are one of many types which race on the Sound. By mid-afternoon, competition is going in many classes. Here's an Indian Harbor Arrow from Greenwich, Connecticut. These are Comets and Snipes, two of the most popular types. The Rhodes and the Meteor. And boats of the handicap class. Also among the racers are the Stars, which cost $2,200 and now number in the thousands. There are also some big fellows of the international class. At one time, sailing was considered a rich man's sport. A Vanderbilt or an Adams at the helm and a couple of millionaires at the sheets. Today, highly expensive craft are in the minority. Of 500,000 sailboats owned by Americans, 2/3 are 20 feet or less in length and moderately priced. The youngsters have gone into the sport and cut it down to size. Of course, these small fry make mistakes. Here's sail trouble, and here water in the cellar. This is called jibing, the hard way. No, they aren't born sailors, but if they're willing to learn, it's easy on the Sound. In Connecticut, the Pequot Yacht Club, with 135 juniors, carries on an extensive training program. Before the young mariners ever...
Okay, I think I'll dial it back from there, but as you can see, this is post-war. It's really interesting, an interesting perspective, I think, on Julia, Peter, on what's going on or what was going on in the sport. And as some of you are saying, still active, the Atlantics, we have any number of FOSI who have sailed Atlantics, including our friend at Madison Beach Yacht Club, Steve Adkins.
Yeah.
And Lightnings and Stars Pequot Yacht Club is Dave Perry's home yacht club, and it's a terrific junior club and a senior club as well. And doesn't Larchmont Yacht Club also do, or used to anyway, have a junior race week as well as race week?
They do. In fact, in the 70s, I participated in of all boats, a Fireball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course the Fireball was active on the Sound in pre-73, 72, because once the 470 was selected for the Olympics in 70, 71, 72, that kind of killed the Fireball. Because
Right.
we thought the Fireball might get selected. I was campaigning a Fireball as well as a 470 at the time, thinking that's what I would go do. I just dialed back into this video for a sec.
And how the sailing gear is handled. These juniors must learn how to take care of small boats, as well as how to sail them. Once the center board is set and the jib secured, the boat is ready to go places. And soon the youngsters are racing, competing in regattas all over the Sound that culminate in the big 9-day race week at Larchmont. And now the Atlantic class yachts, 30 feet long with 378 square feet.
Yeah, I agree with Jonathan Frank. I think what a joy it must have been to participate in regattas like that. And of course, there are still some around. And John Emmett saying now, if you look in the UK, far more Fireballs being raced than 470s. Yes, that's true. How often is that the case where the Olympics kills in a class? Julie Aaron saying wonderful newsreel quality. And just actually, you can imagine how kids, maybe this was played before a movie in the cinema, in the movie house, and kids are watching this thinking, my gosh, this looks like fun. How can I go sailing?
I've only been to Larchmont once, and in the company of Fifi Roosevelt and Harry Anderson. And you can imagine the stories I heard.
Oh, indeed. Okay, fantastic stuff. Shall we wrap this up? The last comment to you, Peter, on this segment.
Yeah, it's racing around the Sound, even through the 70s was just so, it was just so vibrant. All summer long. It's sort of, it's a pity it's not around as much any longer. The Atlantic fleet, there's still the internationals, the IODs around, and Atlantics are around, some of those nostalgic boats. But on the other hand, you see people on Wasps and Moths and things darting around the Sound too these days. So.
And you also, in those days, you had wind on Long Island Sound more than you do now, right, in the summertime. You actually had a sea breeze.
Absolutely. And it was actually one of the things about sailing during the pandemic last year, or what year, I think probably 2020, I went out a little bit, and the wind actually improved in the summer of 2020 because the traffic on the expressway was down. Was dramatically reduced, so there's no thermal barrier to the sea breeze coming over.
Yeah. So
it was remarkable to see how conditions changed, with the pandemic.
Well, I've had it explained that what was the old song? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Right. Who was that?
Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
Was it? And of course, what's happened is that the wind used to come across Long Island, and that would get sucked across by the hot air rising over Connecticut, over the northern shore, and you get a nice sea breeze from the cooler water. But now it goes up over the parking lot, which Long Island has become, and it never comes back down, or not much, to the Long Island Sound. And if it does, it's shifty as hell, right? And light.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's the winner.
49. They're champions of the Teenage Tars.
The Teenage Tars.
Yeah.
So what was there was some comments about the Teenage Tars. Jack Tar was
what tar is a sailor?
A British Navy. They called them Jack Tars for some reason, right?
Yeah.
Somebody on here, I think, made a comment or two. Is that right, Peter? Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I believe so.
All sailors were tars.
All sailors, not just British sailors.
Yeah.
Bill Wingrove, I think Charlie Morgan said one time that every time they build a new condo tower, the sea breeze changed on Tampa Bay. Well, okay. As a camper, Julie Aaron said, we sailed 470s. That's where I learned to sail on the lakes in Maine. We had we had boys camps, girls camps, summer camps. We had inter-camp regatta, and it was girls versus girls and girls versus boys. Nice. The hot air is always rising over D.C. That is true. Steve Gruber, who lives there in that area, it says it comes back down about 10 miles inland. Not much use for us sailors on Long Island Sound anymore. And then some previous comments I wanted to grab. They're talking about the life jackets, and those life jackets that had the vertical power, those were called Mae Wests.
Yeah.
After the famous, she was a siren, right? Wouldn't you call her? She was an
early
sex kitten. I mean, a starlet.
Yeah.
She was. Why don't you come up and what was the famous line? Mae West.
Yeah. Why don't you come up and see me sometime?
Yeah. Is that a pistol in your pocket? I mean, there's things like that. Yeah. I don't know if those were hers.
Yeah.
Let's go back to some of these other comments. We're over 100 comments. No surprise, as we often are. Chime in, Peter, if you want.
Well, I think, one of the things about the wind, too, on Long Island Sound is the frostbiters find it very attractive because there is more sea breeze in the winter because there's not the heat on Long Island, so it comes right over.
Steve Gruber is saying some of the Atlantics in the video are still racing at Cedar Point Yacht Club, which is in Connecticut, Westport, Connecticut. Emmett's made an interesting point here too earlier. He said there's no life jackets. No, and I think I'm not going to tell anybody to go out and sail without a life jacket on, especially in the winter.
I was going to say in cold water.
Frostbite. But in hot summer weather in Long Island Sound or on the lake where I grew up in Michigan, let alone in Texas, the idea of requiring people to wear life jackets is probably less safe than just going out and sailing with a T-shirt on or no shirt at all. It's just it's like everything else become overregulated, it's just too much. Let people go out and have some fun. Lots of girls and no life jackets, Pedro Foiling Sailor is observing. Amazing for formal, the attire in those old clips. Don Lunabo saying, my progression was El Toro number 1, Geary 18. Yep, that was a big boat here on the bay. Lightning 19-footer. Rhodes 19, Columbia 40. The road never ends. Even Bill Wingrove saying, notice even back then, guys and girls sailing without needing quotas.
Yes.
And somebody else mentioned, maybe Jonathan Frank, about how social it all seemed in these videos.
Yes.
How true. Just nice social sailing. Couldn't agree more.
There was a lot of, certainly in the 70s when I was sailing on Long Island Sound, it was fairly evenly balanced in the racing around the Sound, gender-wise. It was just the thing.
So. Why else would you go unless there was somebody interesting to meet, right?
Exactly. Well, exactly.
Well, and as Paul Henderson has been on this show any number of times, always said, you've got to get girls and boys out sailing together because that's what they're interested in.
Especially at that age.
And then go into the club and, okay, we did all sorts of terrible things. Clark Chapin, I hope my mom's not on here. Some of the things we did, but we'd go skinny dipping at night after sailing all day and whatever else we did. It was good fun. Skinny dipping, Mom. Skinny dipping. We didn't do anything else. Maybe after skinny dipping, I can remember going into the showers not in the men's room, in the ladies' room, and showering with some of the ladies. You had to get warmed up.
Of course.
If you're just joining us, we've got Peter Taylor. I'll put the title in here for you, Peter. Peter Taylor is live via Skype from New York City. He's a FOSI. He's a member now of the Beach Street Yacht Club, and he's just produced this terrific photo montage about Larchmont Yacht Club and their frostbite racing, where he serves as the race committee. He's another one of these great spark plugs, Julia, for the sport, where he helps out at Oak Cliff, helps out with the Manhattan Yacht Club, helps out at Larchmont, and sails himself, and has, all your life, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Although during most of my career, I was too busy to do it. So I've been last 5 or 6 years, I've re-immersed myself back into it, and it's been great.
What's been your career?
I was a global technology management business consultant, so I was just on the road so much that the last thing I wanted to do was do anything in addition to coming home and go to sleep.
Uh-huh. Understand that.
Yeah, well, let's see what. Oh my gosh, so many comments. Peter, thanks for a great photo montage. Blake Middleton, who's, by the way, Blake said that he would do. He would do. Did you see that comment?
Yeah.
An ice boating thing. Clark Chapin, Skip D-ball. Some people call him D-ball in the German pronunciation. Once observed about ILYA. That's on Lake Erie. Junior Bay Week. On average, each one of these regattas ultimately results in at least one marriage, which is great.
Yeah.
John Emmett replying to Blake Middleton, I would beg to differ. I don't know what Middleton said. Oh, okay. He said up at the top, Blake said one of the keys to social sailing probably starts with double-handed classes rather than just single-handed classes like opties and lasers. And Emmett's disagreeing. He's saying, replying to Blake Middleton, I would beg to differ. I see no difference. It's about making sailing fun and social, whatever the class. And of course, back on shore once everybody's together. And there's probably some truth to that. But I do think John, Emmett, who's a big defender of obviously single-handed sailing, he being a laser and Ilka sailor, I think also there are a lot of kids who don't want to sail by themselves.
Yes. Especially when they just begin.
And not just women. I think there's some young boys and young girls both. Jody Shields, you can always rely on a clever comment from Jody. I don't skinny dip, I chunky dunk. My mother has checked in. Oh my God, she's on here. Sailing, social fun, back in the tent, girls, same game. She's referring to one of famous incident over at Clark Lake, where the parents were out sailing and the kids were all in a tent playing strip poker. Me included.
Well, I remember actually when I first sailed lasers, which was probably in 1973, and then I got one in 76, but there was an accessory which as a teenager, I don't. John Emmett can put his fingers in his ears when he hears this, but there's basically it was a beer cooler that slid under the hiking strap, and it worked. It was great. So that was one of the things that we tended to have too as teenagers. Of course, with never admit that we had beer in it, but it was wonderful because you could capsize, and then if you got becalmed somewhere, you could get refreshment. There was even a built-in bottle opener, so it was a complete kit.
That's lovely.
There's some other comments up earlier. The comments, they come so fast and furious.
Yeah.
James Frederick Bland. Hello, Jay Frederick. He's saying, hey, TARS refers to the grooming standards. The flap on the crackerjack uniforms of the British Navy, maybe the American, was to keep the rest of the uniform clean.
Right.
Oh. Right. Gordon Smith, now all these quotes from Mae West. Do you smoke after sex? I don't know. I never looked. Mae West didn't say that.
I don't think so.
I think that's something.
Somebody else.
Between two evils, this is David James. He's saying that Mae West said, between two evils, I always pick the one I never tried before. Is that a banana in your pocket, or are you just pleased to see me? Okay, enough of all that.
Graham Sweeney says sailors were called tars because of the tarpaulin clothing they wore.
Oh, yeah? Okay, shrinkage. You got to go back, Julia. Tell them now. You're on the camera. Everybody's loving your scarf. Tell them what you always say. Go back and read the comments.
Read the comments, yeah.
And David James is saying one of the great things about high school and college sailing is that they are the only co-ed sports, well, among the only. And that is some club hockey and some other club sports where men and women play together, but compete together. But Mark Orton Reed, for a lot of us, 18 was the legal drinking age growing up. Was it? I guess it was when the Vietnam War broke out when it dragged on, right? They figured if you're sending people to war in Vietnam, you ought to be able to drink at age 18, right?
Right.
I know the legal drinking age went down and the highway carnage went up, at least in this country. Jay Rendell. Hello, Jay. And thanks for the various things you've sent me this week. High school sailing is co-ed, and the kids enjoy being there as much as sailing. I think that's probably true. Shall we press on?
Yep.
Okay, we have This Day in History is up next. Can you stay, Peter, or do you have to go?
I can stay a bit longer, sure.
Good. Let's go to This Day in History. We want to thank again Peter Taylor, who's live via Skype from New York. And what happened on this 28th of January, on this day in history? Meg even criticized the font on this. I said, well, create a new slide for me, Meg. She said, oh, well, I can't do that. I don't have time to do that. She just has time to criticize my... What is that? That you call that that scroll?
Font.
Well, not the font. That's called a what?
A scroll.
A scroll.
Yeah.
Okay. A parchment scroll.
Parchment. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
What happened on this day in 1820? There's your first clue. Those are from Russia. You think they were invading Ukraine?
I think so.
That's a joke.
Not so much.
Those are Russian warships, the Mirny, and the Vostok. Stingray's asking, was 1820, was that Biden's 21st birthday?
Oh.
It is elder abuse, the poor guy.
Mm.
What happened on this day in 1820? Here's your second or third clue now. You know who that is, Julia? Probably a friend of your late great husband's. 100 years removed. He's German originally, went to Russia, and he was a famous captain and admiral, Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen. You had to put that in the show just because it's fun to say.
Yes.
Ultimately a Russian admiral, and he, along with a colleague, Bering Strait, close Gordon Smith, Sitka incident, Alaska discovery. Clark Chapin is saying Antarctica. David James, as usual, gets it. Maybe go to a Gotham font. They're criticizing, even Emmett's criticizing my font. Point being that this gentleman started out with those two ships. He was the commander, and he had a guy with him in that second boat. And they discovered Antarctica. They went around it, went from Europe to Australia, checked in Australia. This over a period of years, but it was actually on this day there. You can see, I think, at the top when they first really, literally bumped in here, coming down and bumped in, found Antarctica. They didn't go ashore, I don't think. That happened later on. Didn't really have the capability of doing it. But it's hard to believe this is only 31 years, 1820, 31 years before the America's Cup, and they hadn't really even discovered Antarctica, at least the Europeans hadn't. And then later he circumnavigated on his way back to Russia. 1820, Russian Antarctic expedition led by Fabian Gottlieb, I got to say it again, Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen and Mikhail Lazarev discovered the continent of Antarctica. No GPS, right, Alan Long?
It's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe today, this day in history, on the 28th of January. Anything else on this day in history? There were lots of things. That was the most significant thing that involved sailing.
Yes.
Always have to involve sailing. Should we get to the America's Cup?
Absolutely.
Peter, do you want to say something before we go to the Cup?
Nope, not this time, thanks.
Well, the big news this week in the Cup was that New York Yacht Club's America's Cup Challenge has been accepted. They actually did file a challenge, and that was news because they originally said, we intend to challenge, and lo and behold, they had challenged. They had, in fact, challenged. It was one of those things that I was told that I couldn't say, so I don't say it. When people, they're getting smart. They if they don't want it to leak out on this show, they, you know what they do now? They tell me and then say, now you can't say it. They shake their finger. They've learned from you, Julia. You can't say that on the show. And
well,
we don't.
You need a little help now and then.
And we don't say it. But not only have they challenged, it's been accepted. The RNZ Yacht Squadron formally accepted the New York Yacht Club's American Magic's challenge for the 37th Cup to be held in 2024. Well, we'll see. The third additional challenge accepted for AC-37. Quote, it's great to be back in the America's Cup for AC-37, and our pursuit of bringing the trophy home remains the same, unquote, remarked Terry Hutchinson. Now, he's got a new title, President of Sailing Operations for American Magic. We've been preparing for AC-37 from the moment our time came to an end in AC 36 and are a deeply motivated group. All hands on deck. Terry didn't write that. Ready to compete and ready to win, which I think is interesting to any number of reasons. Not only does Terry have a new title, but that's the previous release. He was not mentioned in it, so it's nice to see him.
Yes.
Back in the saddle. I've been texting with him about him coming on the show. He promises to come on the show, but he says we're just so flat out now with design meetings, getting reorganized. And remember, they've lost some people in the meantime to Alinghi and some of the other teams. So this is cool news. The press release, which was issued by New York Yacht Club, goes on to say earlier this month, American Magic agreed to represent the New York Yacht Club at AC 37 in a renewed collaboration. You all know the back and forth that went on. To bring the America's Cup trophy, the old mug, back to the U.S. American Magic's principals, 2 of the 3 remain, Doug DeVos and Hap Fouth, that's also good news, shared their vision for the team to be an ongoing competitor in the America's Cup. They're committed to investing in technology, design, innovation, and talent to build a winning team and franchise for the long haul. Interesting piece of verbiage there. Quote, Doug and I, this is Hap Fouth, Doug and I are thrilled that our challenge was accepted, unquote. Noted team principal Hap Fouth. We have unfinished, thank you, Julia, business and a hunger to get back on the water and compete. Our dedicated team partners, supporters, and fans have become invested in our mission, and we are excited to represent them and the USA once again. Peter, what do you think?
Glad to have them back in the game.
Do you think they have a snowball's chance? Come on, we always ask the tough questions. No, I mean, they've got a chance. Certainly, they've got more than a snowball's chance, and I don't mean to suggest they don't, but they've got an uphill battle.
They do, for sure.
They for sure do. What are the other comments here? Technology, Stingray, technology, design, and innovation are the first things mentioned by Hap Fouth. Excellent, great. I can still wear my AM hats. I should have worn mine today now that they're back together in the New York Yacht Club. Julia and her shaking fingers set the standards around here, Blake says. Gottlieb made pinball machines in the day. Gottlieb? No, come on. Pedro Felix is making a joke. Well, did Russia discover the Ukraine only later? Okay, so that's a statement from New York Yacht Club Media. And when it was posted on the AC37 website, this was the graphic. 5 teams. Ooh. And there's a problem here. Do you see the problem, Julia? Peter, I showed Peter in the tech check.
Yeah.
Do you see any problems with that graphic? And not just that it's got Ernesto in it? That's not a problem. That was a joke.
Well, one flag.
What one flag what?
The Swiss flag.
You think the Swiss flag? Yeah, the cross is a little small, but it's not much bigger than that on the right. But you're close. How about the flag above it?
That's Brit.
It's not.
It's not Brit?
That's not. And those, I've been corrected in the past too. The Irish will love this. And somebody on here, John Emmett or one of the other Brits, Gordon Smith, can explain. Yeah, the Brit flag, Stingray is saying, dodgy flag, Gordon Smith is saying. Yeah, it's a problem because here's what the Union Jack really looks like. And you can see the Union Jack is correct on the New Zealand flag.
Yes.
But it's not correct on the British flag. And I'm sure Gordon or John will explain exactly why the loss of those diagonal red stripes, why that makes the Irish happy, the Northern Irish. In any event, it was later corrected. No Welsh sailors. It was later corrected on the graphic. But the old graphic, I'm sorry to say, is still up on the website. I noticed today.
Does that mean they're not going to choose Cork?
I don't know what that means. That's a good joke. By the way, Peter, before we forget, what is that in the background of your shot?
The Long Island Sound on a summer day with no wind.
Yeah, it is. It's summertime. Long Island. Mm-hmm. Long Island Sound. Okay, Stingray, that was a comment too. I won't mention about that. Please don't let Haas F1 anywhere near the American Magic, Jonathan Franklin. You lose your stripes when you become Brexit, Peter Stevenson is saying.
Well, that might be true. That might be
You
true.
think that's true?
I don't know.
Okay, well, there's
less constraints.
Let's go to the venue now. We'll flip the page and go to the venue. Do you know who that is? I haven't had him on the show, but he is an esteemed Spanish journalist, an old friend, longtime friend, Jaime Soler. Don't call me Jaume, the British and others, Anglos who call him Jaume. It's Jaime, it's pronounced in Spanish. And he is a terrific journalist. He's a sailor. He's been covering the sport, but he also covers the sport for some of the leading newspapers in Spain. You know, Stingray knew it was Jaime, and including the ABC, and this article showed up in the ABC yesterday. Thanks, Stingray, for the link. This is a Google Trans, so it's a translation, a machine translation. I don't think eruption's the right word. I think the eruption of the city of Malaga in the bid to host the coming up of the city of Malaga in the bid to host the 37th America's Cup of Sailing has caught more than one with on the wrong foot. It was announced by the mayor of the city, Francisco de la Torre, in the municipal plenary session, with what more officially impossible. I'm not quite sure what that meant.
No.
But
officiality.
Okay. But it is that whoever was one of the strongmen of the Oracle in the Valencia edition, TFE, already hinted. I've never been called a strongman. Already hinted that must also be, just one of the leading lights of the Oracle Team USA, or old farts, maybe is what it meant. Already hinted at it several weeks ago in his internet show, Sailing Illustrated. Many will wonder why Malaga. Now, this is in a national newspaper. ABC is one of the handful of strong national newspapers, and not just on a blog, that he also writes a famously good blog.
But didn't also dismiss Malaga?
No. Many will want the second paragraph here. Many will wonder why Malaga. Well, this is the $1 million question. Not because it doesn't have a great nautical sports tradition, which it does. Without going any further, it has the Real Club Mediterráneo, the oldest club in Spain, from which, by the way, great champions such as Felix Gancedo or Teresa Zabel have emerged, to name two of its legends. Malaga is the capital of the Costa del Sol, the Coast of the Sun, the second city in Andalusia, in terms of the number of inhabitants after Seville, with more than 500,000, and with a major international airport. All this, however, are only compliments to what could be the hosting of the most important sailing event.
Interesting.
And how did Malaga get there? Well, this is a bit of the question. Hosting the America's Cup is not cheap at all. There's talk of a canon, meaning a payment, of 50 to 60 million euros for Team New Zealand. But then there is the second part of the story, the infrastructures. Well, you can see how good a journalist this guy is. Although it is true that the great work that was done in Valencia for 2007 with the construction of an entire port is no longer necessary, Malaga has the space for it, and the bases meaning the team bases are no longer fixed but are movable. Everything that it carries around add up to several million more, which are also in charge of the organizing city, meaning the organizing city's got to provide the surrounding infrastructure to those movable tents and bases that show up on the hard stand, like they did, of course, in Auckland. So let's have a look here. In the final paragraph, in the end, I don't know if it will be a toast to the sun. Not sure what that means in the translation.
That's the
Pyrrhic victory, or No,
it's the coast.
No, I don't think so. I think it means in the end. I don't know if this is just kind of a what's the expression I want? Tilting at windmills, kind of a thing. Toast to the sun, like
Yeah.
I think that's what that means, Peter. Don't you think?
Well, yeah.
Toast to the sun. I don't think it's the Costa del Sol. But he goes on and finishes. But the mayor has commented that they already have part of the financing from private capital. Now it would be necessary to see what amounts public institutions would be willing to contribute. So there, I think, is, well, perhaps the real news. And that is, again, that's Jaime Soler writing in ABC, one of the Spain's top national newspapers. But the point is, that last sentence where he says it would be necessary to see what amounts public institutions would be willing to contribute. Therein lies the problem in Cork. Therein lies the problem why Valencia is out, why Barcelona was never a starter, and the only real money on offer, and it's north of $100 million between running the event and a payment to Team New Zealand to help fund their team. And I still wonder this day and age if people, politicians, citizens are going to be willing to put up money for a team from New Zealand. I mean, cash that's going into their coffers so they can compete in exchange for what? Yeah, they're saying pipe dream, pie in the sky. Yeah, maybe pie in the sky, Steve Gruber. That's the toast to the sun. Stingray saying, I'm guessing that Grant Dalton is hoping hard to make Malaga come through, replying to Julie Aarons, should save shipping costs. Well, yeah, but that's a small part. Julie is also saying if you are in Auckland and dig, Alan Long said, Julie's saying if you are in Auckland and dig a hole through the earth, you will end up in Malaga. That's actually true. You're pretty close. You're pretty close on the, what do you call that when you are on the Antipodes, I guess.
I don't know.
What other comments were in here replying to
that? Baton Rouge.
What's Baton Rouge?
Are you going to mention the AC-40 being built? One of the videos of the mold being built had a Team New Zealand watermark on it. I guess they have money to get started.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention it because I seen the video and they put it out and said, oh, the AC-40s are in production. The first one's not going to be splashed until next year sometime or February of 2023. Stingray has been reading the forums and knows something about this. I'll do that in Tuesday's show. We're going to have a long enough show this time without going into the AC-40s. And it was the tool that was a robotic machine making the tool, the mold. And we'll talk about that some more. Antipode of Auckland isn't far from Malaga, Clark Chapin is saying. Expat status, get backing from Mabadala. Yeah, okay, we're going to talk about Magnus's piece this morning. And you can sail the AC anywhere. That's a good point, which is why we're going to cover that. But again, I go back to my main point here, folks, that I still think pipe dream is, who said pipe dream? Pie in the sky, Steve Gruber said, and he said pipe dream. I still think any venue other than Auckland, except the Middle East, financially is a pipe dream. I just, tell me I'm wrong, but I really don't see it happening. That we got COVID. We got COVID restrictions coming on. We got COVID restrictions coming off. We got this new variant, BA, which is probably not a big deal, but it looks more transmissible. Probably not more deadly, is from what I'm talking behind the scenes with you-know-who and a few others. But nonetheless, a CNC machine, thank you, Alan Long, which you can see the mold being made by the robotic machine. And I don't see it. You got everything existing in Auckland. Those people deserve, the Kiwis deserve to have it. Yeah, Daltz is looking for money to keep his team alive against increasingly tough competitions. He's now got the Brits. He's got Prada coming back, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, who are all in fighting over, by the way, Stingray will tell you, fighting over the number, who gets how many boats of these AC-40s, because these AC-40s are increasingly important.
Yes.
Not only as training boats, but also for the women's and the youth they're going to be used for. And they're just a development of that trial horse boat, the little boat that the Kiwis had originally.
Yep.
Which was a good boat. 8 AC-40s, Julie Aarons confirming, are ordered and being built in China. Read Gladwell's article. Yeah, I didn't mean to get into all this deeply today, and we will play that video, and we will talk about it on Tuesday's show. Now that I'm remembering this is Friday, not Tuesday. I still think, guys and gals, that Auckland is the number one place, but the Middle East may have heated up for reasons that we'll explain in a moment. And that if you read Magnus this morning, Magnus the Magnificent.
If David James says if TNZ gives up home court advantage, they are almost certain to lose the cup to Ineos, Merck, or Alinghi.
You got to say that with more authority, because you don't sound like you believe that.
Well, no, I it's perfectly possible.
I think they're going to lose it. if they take it offshore. I've been saying that
Oh,
since
yes.
the get-go.
Oh, well, absolutely.
David James agrees.
Yeah.
Tom, is it true the 12-meter regatta has been canceled in New York this year? Let's ask Peter. I hadn't heard that, Pedro Farley-Sailor.
I hadn't heard that either. I don't know. I mean, was that something that Michael Fortenbaugh's running? Or is that?
There's a 12-meter regatta in Newport. Maybe if they're going to drag them down to New York, I don't know. I don't know. If Daltz takes it away from Auckland, history shows they will lose the cup. Jonathan Frank is saying Stingray's agreeing with me.
Yep.
Tick, tick, tick. I also, Stingray is also wondering how is this ever going to happen in 2024, and it's less than 2 years from now.
I know. That's why it's almost inconceivable that it could take place any place but Auckland.
Exactly. And if here it is January and they're supposed to come up with a final decision for the venue by the end of March, and they still don't have public monies confirmed, excuse me. I've been in this game. I've been in this movie. It is so darn hard to come up with public money for any kind of an event like this. It's just, especially this day and age, coming off hopefully coming off COVID and so on. I think these three gentlemen need to be talking. I hope they are talking. I think they will be talking. I think sooner or later, especially with the pressure from this gentleman. Mm-hmm. Although I'm starting to hear that maybe he's losing his enthusiasm for court if it's someplace other than the Middle East.
Why would he do that?
Well, I don't know. He just I think he, like Jim Farmer, just don't want it to go to the Middle East. If it's in Malaga, then maybe they will relax. That's what I'm starting to hear. But let's not speculate anymore on all that. We don't know. Let's move forward. You still got time for us?
Sure.
Good. It's nice to always have a co-host along with Julia and myself to liven things up a little bit.
Yes, indeed.
And you, by the way, you can shake your finger too if you want. Oh, got to practice though.
Practice.
Okay. Tell us about your hat too while we're at it.
Oh yeah, this hat actually. What I was going to do is give you a scoop saying that the Yacht Club de Chile is about to enter the America's Cup, but actually that's not quite true. I was down in Viña del Mar near Valpo a couple of years ago exchanging burgees as part of a trip there, and I was also in Uruguay, in Montevideo, at the Yacht Club de Uruguayo, but did a little sailing in Montevideo, but not in Viña del Mar.
Were you down there on business?
Pleasure, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's great country.
So when you say Valparaiso, obviously.
Right, thanks.
And we have a college in this country, Julia, with which you will be familiar, called Valparaiso University.
Yes.
Where's that, in Indiana? Well, everybody calls Valpo because they can't either pronounce or remember the whole name.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody calls Valparaiso in Chile Valpo except me.
No, I think other people do.
Do they?
Yeah.
Chileans?
Chileans.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm glad to hear that because I felt cretonic calling it.
No.
Let's get to Emma.
Eggnog.
Eggnog. Maybe we call it Emmett's Eggnog. We keep looking for a name for this. I talked to John this morning. John, we got to call this something. I came up with this. I saw it on one of his Facebook posts someplace, but I think we're going to call it Master Mentor. Emmett's Eggnog. I like that. Master Mentor John Emmett, who says, train hard, sail easy. Here's his report today.
Yeah.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Just continuing on from the discussion about goal setting. And I think it's really important to run specific sessions. So we have a little video here of some solos sailing. God, that's hard to say as well. And that's another very active class that we have in the UK. And it's at similar speed to a laser radial or Ilka 6. And they have really, really close racing. Sails and hulls and masts from a number of different manufacturers means that people can get a boat which is suited to their weight type. So going back to the goal setting, running really specific sessions is important. So this little video, as you may have guessed it, is a downwind session. So we spent an entire day going downwind to try and get the muscle memory and the learning. So we launched from the academy, which was where the 2012 Olympics was held, and sailed all the way downwind through the harbour, all the way basically until we hit land, and then we pack up, roll the sails, everybody jumps in the rib, tow back to the harbour, rig the boats up and do it all again, and then a long tow all the way home. And that way, by practicing just one thing in the day, we're going to get the most improvement. And it's not just about what you learn, it's about what you remember. So really fun day on the water, and probably especially for hiking boats, a good way of getting the downwind practice, because in the wind range we have, and video always flattens the wind in the waves, it was around 20 knots. You go downwind so much faster than upwind, it's hard to get the amount of downwind practice you need. So yeah, wonderful day on the water, and if you can encourage somebody to come out in support in a rib, I would really recommend it. Have a great show.
Lovely.
Yeah. Another great report from John.
Yes.
Magnus is saying, call it the Emetaverse. Emetaverse, like the Metaverse.
Metaverse.
Do that. Metaverse, the Emetaverse. Nice video. Clean-shaven John Emmett. Everybody has to drink. Stingray saying, thanks, John. Emmett gets some valuable hair time again. Gordon Smith also saying, I like it when the guest stays through to comment on other things. I agree. It's really nice to have a co-host. Thank you again, Peter. Nice. Mary Jude Szymanski is saying nice. Yeah, it was a nice. Look at that. Nice report. Okay, good. While we're on this theme of Olympics and Olympic-type sailing, John being the superb Olympic coach that he is, he won't tell me who his latest clients are, but I know he's getting calls already and has been for some time. But let's go to the newest Olympic class, the IQ foil, which are, speaking of Lanzarote, are racing in Lanzarote as we speak. The International Games, they call it, the IQ foil. This is the new windsurfer, foiling windsurfer, that'll be used in 2024 in the Paris Games, which will be in Marseille. They have 100 riders. They don't call them sailors now. They, like the kiters, are calling them riders. 70 men, 30 women competing in this regatta, which wraps up, I believe, tomorrow. Here's a look at their video from yesterday. I haven't seen their video today.
Day 3 here at the IQ Foil International Games. 70 male athletes got 2 races in, and it was Nicolas Goyard who managed to take 2 wins. He knocked off from the leaderboard Luc van Opsalen, who went down to 3rd. After the first 2 races for the men, it was time for the ladies. And luckily, the wind dropped because of a rainy cloud that came over, resulting in unstable wind, and the girls got sent back to shore. Unfortunately, the conditions remained the same for the rest of the afternoon. The slalom racing and the marathon are still left on schedule, so everything is still far from being decided.
That was nice.
Yeah, nice quick video, and a class that's coming along very quickly, very nicely. Not much in the way of North American participation. I didn't see any American or Canadian flags on that pole, and I looked. But this gal is the top. Again, they didn't have any female racing yesterday, so this refers to the day before. Pilar La Madrid, obviously from Spain, was more than happy when she arrived at the shore on Wednesday afternoon. With 5 bullets out of 5 races, there was no one coming close to Madrid on the first day. Madrid, quote, I'm super tired. It was beautiful. We had done 5 races. It was super fun. And yes, I like it when it's windy.
Yeah.
So she's obviously very good. And we'll see how she did today, if anybody has seen any results. Well, we'll talk about it. Check it in with them on Tuesday. And now for a Bravo Zulu, I think it's time to check back in. And probably for the last time that we'll check in with what? Guess what? The RORC's transatlantic race, which is really wrapped up. And our friend, our Fozy, has gone back. Andrew McIrvin has gone back to the UK. I think he's en route today. Maybe he's back by now. The Roaring RORC, as Magnus Wheatley called them, 3,000 nautical miles, that race from Lanzarote, speaking of Lanzarote, to Grenada. And here is, I think, the final video from trophy winners. This is obviously Andrew on the right. Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, who is also the Secretary General of the International Maxi Association, former Admiral of the RORC, the Royal Ocean Racing Club, giving the trophy to Richard Palmer and Jeremy Waite. That's Richard on the right, I believe, and Jeremy Waite on the left. They won the double-handed IRC, double-handed class in their JPK 1010 called Jaganda. I suppose the Brits pronounce it Jaganda. They were third in IRC Division 1, and they won the two-handed in this 2022 RORC Transatlantic race. They finished 4 days ago now. They completed the 3,000 nautical mile course in an elapsed time of 16 days, 16 hours, and 50 minutes change. Can you imagine sailing across the ocean, 3,000 nautical miles,
yes,
on a 33-footer, double-handed? What do you think, Peter?
No, I'd rather take Queen Mary.
I think it'd be fantastic. I mean, in a big fleet like that, with well-organized race and lots of boats around you in case you had some kind of problem, I just think terrific stuff. They also have issued, as they've been doing all along, and as Magnus Wheatley said in one of his posts, just terrific video coverage,
yes,
and articles by their media team for the RORC's transatlantic race. Enjoy.
Why do I do this? I've been asking this myself the whole way across. You know, we both felt, I think this time, you know, we felt like, you know, we felt our age a little bit coming over on this race. You know, conditions were tough. There was a lot of upwind work in it. There was a lot of different conditions. Why do we do this? I don't know. It's an element of adventure that you just can't get away from.
Absolutely mental race. It was racing from start to finish, absolutely no let up at all. We were match racing Ross on Scarlet Oyster. I think for 4 days we had an 11-mile lead, and every 3 hours we'd check and it was +1 mile, -1 mile. It was just like inshore racing. It was like a series of coastal races, 16 coastal races strung together back to back, just full on, really intense.
Tiller, Richard, the tiller's broken.
Oh no!
It's all broken. We have to fix it with a bit of chopping board again. That's what happens on boats, things break.
The remoteness of the Atlantic is just fantastic. You just know there's no one coming for you if something goes wrong, and it drives a mentality and it drives an experience that you just can't get, you know, from doing inshore and coastal races. It's a really fantastic experience, and there's no internet. It's fantastic.
I think that's one of the best sailing videos I've ever seen. Full stop.
yes.
I mean, I think it deserves applause, like Peter's photo essay did at the start of the show, right?
Yeah.
Bravo frigging Zulu to the RORC, but more importantly to this. I don't know if they trained the guys ahead of time, if Louis Habib and whoever else was working on that project. Gordon Smith is saying, wow. Bye, Jeff Ogle. I don't know if they took the ladies and gentlemen aside and said, hey, look, you know, take your cameras and get the shot down at the water level on the leeward side. And if you have a breakage, take a shot and show us what's going on and fixing the boat. And then when we get back to shore, we'll take the video. And 4 days later, they produce a video like that that will be good for posterity for all time.
Yes. Sound was really good on this too.
And the sound was good. So, you know, with the devices we have now. So whatever they're doing, bravo Zulu. And let's see a lot more of that in the sport across other events. Get people, it's a little hard in the dinghy race, a little hard in the one design race around the buoys. Julie Aaron saying incredible video. And nicely produced too.
Yes.
A little stuff from on shore, a lot of stuff from on the boat, and just brilliant, as the Brits would say. Yeah. Fantastic stuff. I'm impressed and I'm pleased. How about Sail GP? They're also doing a nice job with their video work, and they're starting. I think 3 videos, 2 or 3 came out today.
Oh, I didn't see them. And
they are piling them on. We're still 2 months away from the regatta here in San Francisco, their final regatta of the 2021-2022 year. They now have an explanation from Ben's perspective, obviously recorded in Sydney after the regatta, but just now released yesterday or today, of the big crash. And what did I call it? The big prang, the shocker that shook Sydney Harbor. Have a look.
The day started really well, and we felt like we'd made some good steps forwards for this event. The tune-up day and then the practice racing day, we were going very well, and certainly races 1 and 2, we were right end of the fleet. So yeah, going into race 3 was about trying to consolidate, get another solid finish and put ourselves in good shape for tomorrow. We were just coming into the final moments of the start, pushing hard with the Americans, and I think the French team and the Japanese team were just quite a bit further ahead, very close to the line and just out of our sight. And we were busy watching the other boats and literally just ran them over. First thing was to make sure everyone was okay, and then trying to get both boats back to the dock and assess the damage. Well, I guess it was pretty obvious to first sight of the Japanese boat, starboard bow being cut off. It's going to be very hard for them to sail tomorrow, and that proved to be the case. We got the boats back to the dock. And in that instance, effectively, the way the rules of the league work, that if you're the boat that caused the collision, which we did, if the team that's damaged can't race, then you can't race either. And in that scenario as well, given that we can't sail, the right thing is to offer up our boat, platform, kit, whatever, to try and help the Japanese get out on the water tomorrow. So that's what we're doing. We'll learn from it. Everyone will bounce back. Like I said, the most important thing, no one was hurt, and we can repair the boats, come back out, get back into the next event in San Francisco and come back strong. Token effort.
There we go. Just there you go.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, mate. Oh, that's right. That happens, Steve.
I'm sorry we were jumping up to the shock.
Chris Draper. Another terrific sailor sailing.
That's all right. You're welcome.
Top coater.
Yeah, great catch. Anybody, I had to find a way to an Australian's heart. Oh, yeah, yes, very nice. Thanks.
Sorry,
mate. Everyone's all good. It's all that matters.
Down the street.
Nice video, eh?
It is.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, coming up here to San Francisco, you recognize that, Julia?
Oh, yes.
That is just down at the end of the street. Not quite a stone's throw, but probably those of you who are golfers could probably hit it from the front here. You've been here, Peter, the Beach Street Yacht Club. The Palace of Fine Arts, built for the 1915 Pan-Pacific Exposition.
Correct.
1915, to celebrate the reopening, really, of San Francisco after the big quake in 1906, but also celebrating the reopening of
the world.
Not reopening, the opening, the Panama Canal, the Pan-Pacific Exhibition. There was also one in San Diego, which led to a lot of that nice Balboa Park down there and a lot of the stuff. That's the only building remaining from that huge exhibition, which covered the entire, what we call today, the marina, including where we are, where Julia's townhouse is here, AKA the Beach Street Yacht Club. But that will be the scene, the back part of the backdrop, along with the bridge in Alcatraz Island and St. Francis Yacht Club and Golden Gate Yacht Club for the regatta here at the end of March. And today, Magnus is writing about their new partner, Mubadala Investment Company, who are sponsoring this final event, the San Francisco event. And he said, there's every chance that you may have glossed over, missed, or disregarded some pretty momentous seismic, don't use that word in conjunction with San Francisco, Magnus, incredible news yesterday around Sail GP. And it's no one's fault. Don't use fault around us here.
No.
Huh? Magnus, seismic and fault are not good words to use in conjunction with San Francisco. We're all worried about the next big one. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. The signing of Mubadala Investment Company as the title partner of the season finale in San Francisco barely raised a ripple in the yachting media. And why should it? Most editors will simply have cut and paste the press release. But for myself, and I claim no high ground here, yes, he does claim and he should claim high ground. It was one of the most significant pieces of news to ever come across my desk. That may be a bit over the top, Magnus, the sublime Magnus Wheatley, but it's nonetheless, it is some of the biggest news I think I've seen in a long time. Who are Mubadala, you may ask? Well, they are the lowest, and of course, Magnus is in this business. He's an investment guy from the city in London, still part-time there. Well, they are the lowest profile, high-profile investment business in the world, controlling an effective sovereign wealth fund of Abu Dhabi with a balance sheet of some $230 billion, and who, throughout the pandemic, went large on the global recovery. Whilst others were retreating, Mubadala was seizing opportunities and in 2020 alone plowed some $11 billion into the widest range of diversified investments all around the globe. They went big on tech. They went long on unloved sectors. They built a powerhouse and profited handsomely as the global economy weathered the pandemic storm. This again from Magnus's Rule 69 blog post today, which you can get in the mail every time he posts, which is almost every day. So why does this matter to sailing? Magnus asks. Well, the San Francisco office of Mubadala is the eyes and ears of the sovereign wealth fund into the technology industry and investment opportunities in California and probably beyond. As visionaries, what Mubadala could well be eyeing is that sailing, and particularly the Grand Prix end of sailing, is a fast-track entry to the very top table of the business world. And by attaining some name recognition, had you ever heard of Mubadala, Julia?
Yep.
Peter, had you ever heard of Mubadala? Nor
Nope.
had I. Nor had I. But I digress. And Magnus is right. By attaining name recognition with an alignment to SailGP, doors will open, to say nothing of having now Larry Ellison at your beck and call, or at least to a degree. It's a good bet. It's a brilliant bet, and sailing is richer for their involvement. But wait, there's more. But the San Francisco season ender, the decider, the shootout, the match of matches is something that I, Magnus, cannot barely contain myself with.
Can barely.
Can barely. Oh, cannot, can. I'm a huge fan from afar. Slingsby versus Spit Hill versus Outer Ridge for winner take all, $1 million. I mean, come on, what's not to love? The build-up will be electric. The venue is perfect. Right, Julia?
Absolutely.
Iconically beautiful.
And reliably windy.
Even in March? Not so much in March, but should be. Should be okay.
Yeah.
One can only hope.
It's either terrific or it's non-existent.
Well, that time, yeah, but it should be okay.
No, it should be.
This was a great line. The betting is tighter than Russell Coots at the bar. You can make a case, a brilliant case. I'll tell you what, Russell's not that, from experience, and I've known Russell a long time and had a few, he loves red wine. He loves his red wine. We've had a few red wines. I'll tell you who's really tight at the bar is Chris Dixon, of all the America's Cup types. DC is a little tight, but not, he'll buy.
Yeah.
Russell will buy. He's not that tight. So I don't know where Magnus got that, but it was a good line.
They probably sat next to him.
You can make a case, a brilliant case for any one of those guys to win, and you'd be right. It's going to be electric. And the Mubadala investment, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, investment company is right there in the action with a grandstand seat in a gilded box. What a line. Lucky boys. Okay, I couldn't resist putting this in. Mark the date of March 26, 27 in your diary. Cancel everything. Download the app. Tune in. Sit back and watch the on-the-water fireworks. It promises so much more, so much and more, and is a glimpse of the future of our sport with money on the line. Top-tier sponsors involved in best generation of sailors on the planet. It is quite literally everything. That's from Magnus's Rule 69 blog today. You love him. You just admit it. You just love him.
Well, I don't know him, but I love his words.
You love all these British guys. Peter, I mean, excuse me. She loves Pindar. She loves McIrvin. She loves Emmett. She loves Gordon Smith. Okay, he's a Brit living in Denmark. She has a thing. She is an Anglophile.
I am not.
And a royalist. And well, how'd you end up married to a German sea captain? Why didn't you have some British?
Because I'm an Anglophile? Not because I'm an Anglophile. Okay. That's because he was a sea captain. Who can resist sea
Magnus. Okay, I'm not going to go into who is behind Mubadala Stingray. He's got it. But if you want to know more, go to go to Magnus's column today. It's really, really good. It'll get us some attention. Big sponsors help promote events because they put money into the media, they put money into the promotion, they put money into the advertising. And think now about the Sovereign Fund, the guys who are running it for Abu Dhabi. Think about the Middle East, think about the America's Cup, and think about what we've been saying about Abu Dhabi and Bahrain, Qatar. They never seem to pay their bills, with all due respects. Oman, maybe, but Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, where they have Formula One races, where they have a lot of, already Western-facing businesses and so on, now coming to San Francisco for this event, to sponsor this event.
Clark Chapin has given a good online reference to Mubadala.
Clark Chapin has?
Yeah.
Okay. Ted Ryman, I'll take Pedro. Let's do a watch party. Peter is saying, do a watch party. Peter Stevenson, Pedro Foiling Sailor, do a watch party on the 26th and 27th. We'll do something.
Yes.
And the penny hasn't dropped on how the AC is being developed and why it is attracting the interest that it is. Good point, Gordon Smith. TFE, Julia still has some of the very highest quality preferences in. Julia, that your head almost went back and hit the lamp behind you. In that
let's see. I should hope so.
Be careful. You're going to hit that lamp and knock my studio setting, our small setting here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. I have yet another video from Sail GP. As I said at the top of this segment, they are turning out videos, and there's even another one that I didn't run. This is about the Inspire program that Peter Stevenson told us, regaled us with, because he's helped out when they were in Sydney. And Tom Herbert Evans, we're going to get on the show because this thing is cool, what they're doing for the sport. U.S. sailing, world sailing, okay, part of it's financial, part of it's money. They can't pull something like this off. Private concerns, private business, private industry.
Volunteers.
The private sector, volunteers, and the money of Larry Ellison, the creative vision of Russell Coutts. Look at what they've done now with the Inspire program and the promotion thereof.
Last year I was here at the 2020 WASP Inspire program, and we were able to race out on the course with the F50s, which was absolutely amazing. Best of all, we were able to bring Australia's top youth sailors together and all race together and have loads of fun. The WASP is such a fun boat. It's one that you can learn a week or two. It's just such a simple boat as well. You can go out and enjoy racing on. So yeah, last year I only had, I think it was a week prior to the racing that I'd sailed in Sail GP. I was able to accelerate my sailing and really enjoy the WASP. So in the last 12 months, I've been up at Lake Macquarie every 2 weeks sailing the Nacra 17, and then back down in Tasmania every 2 weeks doing maritime engineering.
We've got a young sailor here with us today called Will Cooley. He's a very well-known sailor amongst the Australians, and he actually was observing Sail GP this season on the television remotely in Australia, and actually noticed the wing trimmers and how they were crossing the boat and having to do multiple tasks at once. So grabbing the wheel for the helm, grabbing the main sheet, and then also controlling some other daggerboard up and down controls. So Will's actually designed his own version of a controller which is much more ergonomically friendly for the wing trimmer and will simplify their role on board the boat. He's been in touch with Russell Coutts, the CEO of Sail GP, and I think they're probably looking at seeing how they can improve and implement that role and the design of the position on board the F50.
Yeah, I have a huge respect for the F50s, being able to take the 50-foot America's Cup boat and produce it into a one design boat and race it in a Grand Prix around the world where Sail GP's best teams will be able to go head to head is really, really cool. And to be out there to sail against them is another thing as well, to be up close, to kind of take a breath in of what that technology is and how the design and development that goes into it can be produced and how breathtaking it is.
Really important to note that there are not only sailors in SailGP, we have some of the most talented designers, engineers and boat builders on the planet. And it's really good to see someone like Will coming up with innovative ideas and also another way that you can get involved in the industry and the sport. And look, we never know, Will could be on our design team in the future years to come.
How effing 50 cool is that video?
That's great.
Huh?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Tom Herbert Evans, I have a feeling, is going to be on the show here in San Francisco. Maybe we'll do more than one show, that Friday. Maybe we'll do several shows that week while the teams are here.
Yeah.
Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And get various people on.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Stingray, cool to see real sailors have input into better ways to race the F-50s. Julie is one classy.
You're too kind.
One classy. Do you mind being called a broad?
No, I'm of an age where
You are.
That's perfectly okay.
You're okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that. I was worried that you might shake your finger at, who was that, Gordon Smith?
Who could shake their finger at Gordon Smith?
Okay. We are to the most controversial segment of our show, dedicated to Jody Shields that it is, the totally non-controversial person that he is.
Yes.
And that's correct or Croutonic. And I ask you all, in that video that we saw once removed, the first video, SailGP video, did you notice the lower third here? Driver. Is that correct or Croutonic? Peter?
I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan. What would you call it?
I don't know.
Julia, what would you call it? What word would you use if not, and to all the rest of our Fuzzy, what word would you use if not driver? You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to spice it up, make it look like Formula One. And they don't want to use helm or skipper, I suppose. Ed Worley says it's Croutonic. Bill Wingrove says it's Croutonic with a capital K.
Yeah.
Worley agrees. My mother, Janice Davis, is talking about the late, great Leslie Douglas, and I sailed a boat named the Broad Boat. Driver is a fine label for me, Blake Middleton says. Helm, Emmett thinks. Helmster. I like Helmster, Ryman. Helmster. Skipper or helm, Duncan Withrow up in Canada. Oh, Canada.
What's wrong with skipper?
I don't know what's wrong with skipper. Commander. Commander sounds too U-boatish, doesn't it, Gordon Smith? Sounds too naval, military, something. Replying to Gordon Smith, yes, you did. Oh, that's a bad joke, Stinger. He is the helm, Sweeney says. My captain, Pedro Foiling Sailor. Peter?
Wasn't Hutchinson skipper, but he didn't drive?
Yeah, that's part of the problem with using skipper, I suppose, is that in the modern America's Cup, I mean, we all grow up, and the skipper was the helmsperson of the boat,
Exactly.
and still is on just about every boat that is sailed, and probably to every non-sailor, they say, "Oh, that's the skipper." Yeah. And of course, skipper gets used, at least in this country, as the manager of a baseball team. They'll call him or her the skipper, right? Okay. Right, Peter?
Yes, correct.
And I think this also on soccer teams, football teams outside of the U.S., around the world, they call the manager. The trainer will call him or her the skipper. I think less so than baseball teams use the term here. Master and commander or boss man, Emmett says. I don't know, anything but driver. Wingrove is saying it's the same thing that NASCAR is doing, trying to go cool to the young crowd, but losing the base and not increasing their numbers. Clark Chapin, the steerer.
Right.
Well, most of you think it's Croutonic. I certainly agree. I think it is Croutonic. Driver, no way. Now, see, Formula One doesn't call them the driver. Formula One calls them the pilot, which, and of course, that's from the French, and it's been the pilota or the Latin languages, but it's been the pilot for a long time. I don't get it. Helm, okay, the problem with helm, I suppose, is that helm you don't want to say helmsman because they want it to be, I'm sure, they want it to be woke and proper and gender neutral. So I get not calling it helm. And also, if you helmsman, if you shorten it to helm,
Yep.
it sounds like the wheel or the tiller,
Yep.
which technically is the helm on a boat. So helmster, I like Ryman's helmster. Why can't I be the skipper? The skipper of the boat. Everybody we know in sailing, everybody outside is saying, oh, the skipper, that's the person driving the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, we all do use driver, too. We do use driver. Who's driving today? Dennis is. Who's driving today? Paul Kayard is. But, that's kind of an inside baseball kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Chief rider. I don't know about that, Graham Sweeney. Perhaps we need sailors doing the outreach to the public and not some sports media hacks. Well, Russell's approved this. Hooper drives the boat, Chief. Helmist. Yeah, John Emmett. Serious skipper is the person in charge of the boat and may not be the person steering it. But I think that is a technical nuance. I think that's just a detail that at the end of the day, what Sail GP person has somebody helming the boat who is not also the skipper?
Yeah.
And we're talking about Sail GP here.
Skipper is more nautical.
Skipper is for sure more nautical, unless you're talking about skipping a rock across. And that is skip. Where is the skip? I don't think it's skipper. Skip is in curling. Isn't the skip the person who pushes the rock in curling?
I'm not a curler.
No.
The skipper on Gilligan's Island kept asking why, if the scientists could build a robot out of coconuts, they couldn't get off the dang island. Enough. I think it's time for Corrector the wife, Gordon Smith says. I think it's time for Corrector Croutonic. Well, we all think it's Croutonic. I think it's time now to get out of Corrector Croutonic is what I should have said, and get on with Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And then I have a nice closing segment for the finish line today. Apropos Australia. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. What the fudge is going on? This is one funny from Jim Palmer here in the USA. First graders return to school after lockdown. Julie, those people look like you and me.
I know.
They don't look like you, Peter. They look like Julie and me. Look at those old farts. That's a great cartoon.
Great.
Now here, this is the best one this is from Mark Husted. I have slept with 2 former presidents, she says. I speak 4 languages, and I own 2 Monets. And the gentleman says, I have 4 boats. That deserves applause too, doesn't it? Huh? Or is that just silly? It deserves
Yeah,
something. I know the sound effects are Croutonic probably too. Thank you, Mark Husted, for sending us that one. That's all we have for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Probably everybody's happy, but I do have a couple of nice segments here at the close in the finish line. Sometimes we just go straight to the graphics. But apropos Australia, do you, Julia, do you, Peter, know who this is? Did I show you this in the tech check? I don't think I did.
You did.
Oh, I did. Oh, so you keep your powder dry. Julia, who is that? She is the pride. Does this help? The pride of the University of Virginia Cavaliers.
I don't know.
Who will know? Well, all of our Australian foesy will probably know. And anyone else who follows tennis will probably know.
Oh.
Warren Schasser, who is an Aussie, who's down in, where is he, in Brisbane? In Australia. That's almost like our PM wanting to get 16-year-olds to drone forklifts. Who is this lady? Blake's already saying thank you. She is a tennis star. She is an American, obviously from the University of Virginia, UVA. She is a finalist at what they're calling the AO. I like it. Steve Gruber says she's a tennis player. Yes. Daniela Collins is her name. She is the finalist, surprise to many people, in tonight's, it'll be Saturday, 12:30 a.m. tonight, our time. She will be playing in the finals against Barty. Peter Salmon is saying Barty. No, she's not Barty, but she will be playing Barty. Ashley Barty from Australia is the first Australian lady in their finals of the Australian Open since 1980. She is the world number one, just spent 62 minutes on court yesterday against her American opponent, another American, Madison Keys. She will face first-time Grand Slam finalist Daniela Collins in Saturday's finale. Bravo Zulu, and thanks to Baton Kennan, for sending that little tip in. I thought that was really cool. And finally, also in Australia, the New South Wales 18s, the Skiffs, their championship, final race of that series is this Sunday, our Saturday. Despite a lack of traditional Northeast winds throughout the 2021 and 22 New South Wales 18-foot skiff championship, the racing has been fast, exciting, and has produced some great finishes with 4 different teams crossing the finish line first in the 7 races so far. The final race of the series comes this Sunday, the 30th, on Sydney Harbor, when the 21 boats, a lot of boats, 21 boat fleet lines up to determine the champion, and only 1 point separates the top 2 teams. The 2 teams at the top of the points table. Speaking of which, we'll tell you about, well, we won't tell you, Yandu is the top team. We'll show you a picture of them in a sec. But I'm quite keen on all this because we have one of our favorite, Fozy.
Oh, yeah.
And remember Rag Famish Hotel? My mother was thinking about how they did so well when they passed the 2 boats that had capsized in one of the earlier races. It was so windy. Harry Price, Josh McKnight, and Harry Hall, famously good sailors, veterans, at least Harry Price, and I think Harry Hall as well, veterans of the Governor's Cup World Match Racing types. Bravo Zulu to them for being on 4th. They're on 28, 30 points. Looks like they're out of probably the top 2 spots, but fighting for 3rd anyway, fighting for the podium, and Bravo Zulu to them, Harry Price, whose entire family are Fozies. They've all been on the show. David Price and Christiane and Olivia, the daughter, the sister of Harry Price. Yandu is leading. That's John Winning Sr. driving, Fang Warren and Mike Kennedy. But they're only a couple points ahead. As the spectators, all of you can follow Sunday's championship deciding race on board. Well, not all of you can. Those of you in Oz can follow on board the club spectator ferry, although the COVID policy is limiting the numbers, booking online, yada, yada. But for those of you unable to make it out onto the water, the club's live broadcast, which has been excellent. It's been really good. You can watch it live.
So much fun to watch the 18-footers.
Exactly. You're just an Aussie. You like the Brits and the Aussies.
Well, I
just admit it.
I do love the Aussies.
You're an Anglophile and an Aussie-phile.
and a German-phile
Well, how about Peter's? Teeter Taylor. Do you like him too?
Oh, of course. Of course.
But you can watch it. Sorry, you were saying?
Never mind.
What?
Live streaming is available at www.18footers.com by clicking on the 18-footers TV link. And again, I commend it to you. It's great stuff. Peter, over to you for the last word.
Well, I'll just say now would be a great time. And in fact, the highest imperatives to like, follow, and share.
Thank
we
you.
did not talk about that. That was not rehearsed.
No.
And keep going.
And of course, if you're so inclined, please. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. So comments, please review the comments. And also, if you're so inclined, no gift is too small or too large on Patreon.
That's right. Patreon.com/Join Sailing Illustrated. Julia, we better make him permanent.
Oh, I know.
That takes a big load off us.
we can just run that as a commercial.
Maybe I'll take that tape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for that. Any final comments? When's the JJ? Is that the JJ this weekend? Peter Selwyn is asking. What is that? Is that your watch? Yeah. I thought it sounded like it was behind me here. The Aussies love Julia. Your cars, you don't even have a car. Why are they trying to reach you about an extended warranty? Look at her, Peter.
I've never had an extended warranty.
Tapping away on her. Brilliant, Peter. Thank you. I think the JJ is in February. Steve Groover is saying that. This is the New South Wales Championship. Yeah, the JJ is the national championship last race. Replying to Gordon Smith. Gordon Smith, let me get back to, okay, there's back and forth. Peter, Julia, and Thomas, I'm talking in 10 minutes with a cool ice boat friend about setting up a TFE live. Thanks, Blake Middleton.
Oh,
Hard
great.
water episode might do both ice boating and snow kiting.
Oh, that'd be good.
Since Wayzata Yacht Club has a fleet that races every Sunday through the first week of March, ice permitting. And they're back still talking about that red dress. We'll do some work on the red dress. Thank you, Peter.
Sure, it's been great fun.
Yes.
Peter, of course, in New York City, live via Skype with Long Island Sound, the summer picture, very still surface of the water there. Julia, any final comments?
Yes, we should welcome him back.
Love to have Peter back anytime. Much appreciated.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Peter. Take good care.
Yes.
Julia, that about wraps it up for us.
Yes.
And we hope to see you on Tuesday. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Hope you can spend it with the ones you love. And better yet, you can spend it, if possible, sailing. Sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao. Bye.